Today, we're going to show you how to create a price list inside SlabWare and how this feature works in the system. Go to Orders in the main menu to access this section. The last option, right below Setup, is Price List. When you click this option, you will be taken to the Price List page. On this page, you will see all the price lists created in the system. This is also where you can create a new price list. You can create price lists based on your suppliers, on the type of material such as granite or quartz, or you can create a customized list with alternative prices, special prices, or promotions for specific customers. To create a new price list, click New. Then, name your price list based on the type of list you are creating. In this example, we are going to create a price list for VIP customers. After creating the list, you will see this blank area. This is where you will add your materials and define their prices. Besides materials, you can also add sinks, products, edges, faucets, and service to your price list. These items are already listed here, so you just need to enter a price if you want to add them to the price list. To add materials, click Add Items. Here you can select the materials you want to include in the price list. Please note that the materials listed here are not the same items from your inventory. This is only the list of materials registered in the system. Select the materials you want to add to your price list. If you prefer, you can also use the Select All option to select all materials at once. And if the material you want is not registered in your system yet, you can click Add New to create it. Notice that these fields are not mandatory. You can choose to fill in only the information that makes sense for your price list. In this example, we are going to fill in some information for the VIP customers list. Select a supplier or create a new one by clicking Add New. Then select the thickness of the materials. This way, whenever this price list is used, you will know that the materials in this list have the same thickness. You can do the same with quality and finishing. In the group field, you can add custom information about the slabs. For example, you can enter a description, a special note, a special price reference, or even the slab measurements, such as 118.11 by 78.74. Next, choose the type of price. Here you can define whether the price will be charged by unit or by square. Then, enter the price for each material. Once you are done, click Save. Now, all selected materials will appear in your price list, along with the supplier name, material name, thickness, quality, finishing, and the group field, where we added the slab measurements. On the right side of the screen, you can see the type of charge and the price. These fields are customizable, so you can edit any item or set different prices for each slab. In the option column, you can delete a specific material from the list. At the top of the table, also on the right side of the screen, you will find options to update all prices at once. For example, if you want all materials to have a price of $550 per unit, you can enter the value here and apply the change. You can also use a percentage if you want to increase or decrease the prices in bulk. After making the change, click Save. If you want to remove all materials from the list at once, click Delete All. This way, you do not need to delete each item one by one using the trash icon in the option column. You can also download your price list information as a PDF. This can be useful if you want to give the list to a customer, so they can review the available materials and choose the one they want to use. On the left side of the screen, next to Import Material, you will see the PDF icon. Click this icon. The system will generate a file with the same information displayed in the price list. Then click Save. Now you can see the VIP customers list we've created. Another way to create a price list is by grouping materials by stone type. For example, you can create a list called Granite. Type the name of the list and click Save. Then you can add different materials from different suppliers inside the same price list. In this example, we are going to add the first group of materials from one specific supplier. Fill in the necessary information such as supplier, thickness, quality, finishing, and price. Here we are going to set the price per square foot to $20. Then click Save. Now we can add another group of materials from a different supplier. Click Add Items again. Select the materials. Choose the supplier and fill in the remaining information, such as the price. Then click Save. Now we have two groups of materials inside the same price list with different suppliers, materials, and prices. You can group the list by supplier name, group name, or both. Just check the options you want to apply. This setting will also be applied to the PDF. This allows you to generate a more organized price list and offer more options to your customers. In the PDF, the materials will appear grouped by supplier, just like this example. Now that we have learned how to create a price list and understand how it can be useful, let's see how it can be used in different scenarios inside the system. If you go to List of Customer, you can add one of the price lists you created directly to a customer profile. This means that whenever you create an order for this customer, the price list will be automatically attached to the order. In this example, we are going to add the VIP customer's price list, which we created at the beginning of the video, to this customer. If you need to review the materials included in your price list, you can click this button here to go directly to the price list page. Then click Save. Now, whenever we create an order for this customer, the price list will be loaded automatically. Just select the customer in the order. Then you will be able to see the price list linked to that customer. If you want to change it, just click this field and select a different price list. After that, you can create a quote or an invoice as usual. As you can see, the price list will be available here. To use items from this price list, go to Custom Items. Then select the item type. In this case, the category will be slab. The materials displayed here are the same materials that were added to the price list. When you select a material, the price will be filled in automatically based on the value configured in the price list. You can add as many materials as you need from the price list. I'm going to add 3 materials from my price list to this quote. And if you prefer to use a material from your inventory instead of a price list item, you can switch this option to all materials. In that case, you can manually customize a new price. For example, in this order, we are going to charge $800 instead of $500, which was the price configured in the VIP customer's price list. This way, you can use both price list items and inventory items inside the same order. You also have the option to apply prices from another price list. To do that, select a material from your inventory and then click the price list icon. Here you will see all available price lists that include the selected material. Then click Apply. Now, the $20 price per square foot for Alaska White has been applied. In the quantity field, I'm going to enter the measurement in square feet. The system will automatically multiply that measurement by the price. Then, in the total section of the quote items, you can see the final amount for this slab. The price list can also be used inside Drawing 2.0. At this time, Drawing 3.0 does not have this option available yet. To use the price list in Drawing, click to add a drawing to this order. After sketching the countertop and adding the cutout, go to Materials. Inside Drawing, the price list will be available in the Materials section. Click the Material field and select Custom. Then you will be able to see the materials and prices from your price list. In this example, the materials already have images registered in the system. I'm going to crop part of the image to better fit the countertop layout. But if your materials do not have images added in the Materials section yet, you can click here and add a picture. This image will not interfere with the price configured in the price list. The edge is currently being included in the total, but I'm going to set it to 0 so you can see only the value of the material from my price list. When you go back to the quote, the item added through drawing will also appear there. Now, let's look at a second scenario. If the customer does not have a price list attached to their profile, you can still select a price list directly inside a specific order. Simply choose the price list in this field and continue creating the order as usual. After that, the price list will work the same way we showed before. Price lists can be used in many different ways inside the system. You can create lists by supplier, material type, promotions, special prices, or specific customers. The most important thing is to configure your price lists in a way that fits your workflow and helps your team create quotes and invoices faster and in a more organized way. That's it for today. If you want to see how SlabWare can help you organize and grow your stone business, visit slabware.com and start your free trial today. If you have any questions, our support team is ready to help. Follow the channel, turn on notifications, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. See you in the next tutorial, folks!